Hi, welcome again. This is episode 9 of the Healing Mamas. I'm Sharon Showmaker, and joined here with me is Brittney Hobbs. And together we are truly and literally the Healing Mamas, mamas that are committed to their journey of coming back home to themselves, reclaiming our parts, reconnecting with all the little parts of us that are just wanting to feel heard, and also figuring out how to balance all the bigger parts of the actual life and everyday existence of what it looks like to be a mama and a woman. So thank you for joining us today here, and we're excited to continue connecting and continuing to contribute to conversations that will support not only ourselves, but other mamas and other people on their journey to navigating a life that is more filled with vitality and closer to thriving instead of just surviving. And so we're glad that you're here on this journey with us.
Yes, thank you for that introduction and that share, and welcome to everybody. And if you are in a space that you can grab a candle and have it ready, we're going to do just a little mini drop in. Because right now I know a lot of people are in heightened activity mode in preparation for the holidays. It feels really good to just take a moment to pause and go inward. So, with that, if you can, just close your eyes and just start breathing in to your body, and maybe even start wiggling around and noticing in your body where you might have some tension or feel some stagnation or feel flutters or anxiety, and just start sending your breath into those areas and move your body in whatever way feels nourishing. Our sensations give us all the information that we need if only we can listen and hold those spaces with curiosity and love. And with that, I invite you to start sending some roots from the base of your spine down into Mother Earth. Onto this first day of winter, as Mother Earth is busy clearing and nurturing and cultivating all of her inner parts and her inner world in preparation for spring. We can root into that energy as we also invite ourselves into that space of inner reflection and clearing out the clutter and what's ready to be cleared away so that we can be open, creatively flowing containers for when spring season rolls around. And with that, if you have a candle, go ahead and light it just as a symbol of this sacred space and this time communing together. And now let's open up the floor to some conversation.
Oh, thank you for that. That was beautiful, even with the intention of not getting swept up into the chaos of this time of year and all the things to do. You still I personally still kind of feel that energy, because I want to weave meaning and sacredness and specialness into my children's childhood and into my life. And so I think, yeah, even intentionally keeping all of that at bay, with what I want to create and do, it does find its way to creep into little parts of my body.
It's that collective too, even if we're, on a different path or trying to hold that intention. I think we talked about last week that it's still that hustle energy is still in the collective, and it's also weaved into our cells from our family lineage that has, been indoctrinated into that hustle around this time of year too.
Yeah, and it's such like an inversion of like what this time of year actually is. So as a collective, we get imparted with like the chaos and the consumption and the busyness and the hustle, but really it's a time for slowing down and going inward and preparing and conserving energy, where most of this time of year we are expected to expend a lot of energy and a lot of resources and a lot of time and money, in order to just keep up with what has been collectively imprinted on us.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And here we are on this day after solstice, and
Mm.
um, yeah, the longest night of the year for any of you who don't practice or celebrate. And with some talk of this today being the first day of the year, um, and where light is reintroduced into the world. And we thought we would share with you just how we kind of experienced solstice and what we did in honor of it with our families. That wasn't necessarily fully planned out, but it turned
It's
out
like,
all the same.
yeah, I mean, I think sometimes with the Pinterest and the Instagram and all these beautiful ways that that we get inspired, we feel like we have to create and do all of those things or do some version of those things, when really it can be something really small or something impromptu if we didn't plan ahead, like we had hoped to. Um, and all of that is beautiful. I think it's really just about anchoring in with ourselves and our families and our children what this time of year represents, some storytelling around that, and yeah, just how to mark and make meaning out of, or give meaning or create new traditions. Because I know growing up we didn't have any conversations or awareness around solstices at all, so this is all relatively new to me. I mean, I think we started tuning more into nature and connecting with seasons and cycles through like getting exposed to Waldorf in a co-op that we were in. And so doing the spiral walks and doing nature tables was something that started it for us. And then I've just wanted to try to integrate it and weave these traditions into this time of year for us. So I think what I would have loved to have done was been more prepared, and I would love like a little advent calendar or an advent thing to count down to this, the shortest day or the longest night. I see so many things and I'm really crafty and I think I can create things, but I end up not really prioritizing it. And then I find myself at the very last minute on, I think, maybe Sunday night. I was like, what can I make or create to have my kids count down to solstice and to Christmas? And so I scurried around and found little wooden peg things from one of our like board games. I found a bunch of Montessori, like little squares and little math manipulative things, and another like wood trees from another game. And I ended up pulling it together and creating this little solstice advent countdown where each of us moves our little peg to the next day. And I wrote dates on things, and I ended up taking some like of my daughter's charms and taking some of the little pouches that she'd made. And so what we're doing is every day, they move their little peg and they open this pouch and they pull out a little silver charm and they hang it on this tree that's at the end of it. And my procrastination left me very stressed, but also in creative flow and ingenuity and like coming up with a really fun like way to bring it in. But I would love to be more, to resource myself better, to not be doing it like the night before I want my kids to actually partake in that activity. It came together really sweetly. And each day I put a new charm in and put a new animal to represent animal medicine on there. But I really would love a better system to support myself. So I pulled that off to lead up to solstice, and I'll let you share. We did something yesterday for solstice as well. But if you want to share anything in reflection to that or what you all did, yeah, I'd love to hear.
I love your craftiness, and I feel like I feel like time is always warped for me. Like I'll have some landmark time up ahead, like solstice, for example, and it'll feel so far away and like I have so much time. And then all of a sudden we're there and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's tonight. And, you know, and so then I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? And so last night I had a big long work day and I was driving home and I didn't give my family any heads up, like aside from being like, oh, so solstice is on Thursday. And there was no like, this is what I would like to do. What would you guys like to do? It was more like, okay, I'm going to see how everybody is when I get home, like who's tired, who's this, who's that. And instead, my husband had gone out and I'm super jealous. He got to ride his four-wheeler way back into the mountains to this gorgeous mountain waterfall that we have nearby and watched the sun go down at this waterfall and had this meditative experience and came back like just lit up and filled up. And he was like, I'm feeling called to have a bonfire tonight. And I'm like, oh, I was like, that was on my like dream list of if everything was ideal when I got home to be like, can we do this? And so I got to get home. And my kids and my husband already had this big, well, not huge, it was in our fire pit, but a really beautiful fire going. And my daughter had her favorite music playing. And so I got to walk home to everybody dancing, and I just dove right in and we danced around the fire out in the dark. Um, and everybody kind of played and went in and out of that space. And then once dinner was ready, we were able to share quickly because it was really late by that time of what we hoped to feel more of in this next year and what we hope to feel less of in this next year. And it just felt really nice. And I'm probably going to carry it through the whole weekend of just continuing to cultivate that. And I would love to have a hike in the woods just by headlamp. That
Mm.
was on my list, but we didn't get to. But I'm like, we're still going to do that this weekend. There's still a lot of darkness out there.
Oh, I love that. No, I love it. I mean, it just kind of shows too, like, I get the time warp piece. I think that's half my problem. I don't know if it's necessarily procrastination or whether it's just like, oh, I have plenty of time, or like trying to, and then it's like, oh, it's here. And then I definitely just am admiring just how the intention of something could be translated through energy of like how you wanted the bonfire and that's what you came home to. And I absolutely love that you got to celebrate it and to kind of slough off the long work day and have it already going on instead of you needing to come home and try to rally the troops and get everyone on board. It was already like fully activated there. So, and your husband's journey to the waterfall sounds amazing. I know you said he took some pictures and videos, so I'm excited for you to share those. And I felt you on the rushed piece as well. Like we have been doing solstice spiral walks for a while, and we're not anywhere near like evergreen trees, or well, they're evergreen because we're in the jungle and it's raining and sunny and warm. They're evergreen, but they're not the pine trees and what you would usually make spirals out of. So I have my boys go and harvest dead palm fronds, and they toted them and carried them back up to our little place to, and I built out the spiral, and then they get involved. Like, I think that was the other beautiful part that I recognize and realize is that my lack of planning and trying to control everything and get it all right and have it look a certain way, my like kind of aloofness of like, oh, this is where we're at, let's do it, allows them to just chop grass at its roots. And it's not the prettiest thing, but then to like place it all along the spiral, and then they decorated the centerpiece of it. And it doesn't look like Pinterest perfect, but it served its purpose, and they were involved and they were so proud. I remember they were like, "Don't look, mama." And then they came and got me and made me walk the spiral with my eyes closed. And it's all these sweet moments that unfolded from us just taking the time to create this like reverence. Like, if I would have just let it be another day, all of that would have been missed. So it's really important for me to set this intention and to see it unfold. I would just probably like to see it a little better planned out, so my nervous system doesn't go into like, oh, we have to fit all this in. And we never got around to our bonfire. We were planning a fire and writing down our intentions and our releases. But my children had an open mic to go and play out. So we paused that, and we'll likely do that tonight. And then they got to go and sing and have an amazing night doing what they love. So yeah, it's far from feeling like winter here, but I still want to give my children an understanding of how the earth and her cycles are still unfolding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can tell that's harder when it's the same amount of day and night year
Exactly.
round and a little less tangible versus here, the sun's not really rising until, 8:30 in the morning, and then it's going to sleep. Let's see, it'll be set here in like the next 45 minutes. So,
Wow.
and then in our summertime, it's light from 5 a.m. until like 10:30 at night. So we have like a huge
Wow.
swing in the amount of light. So it's a really tangible thing, and we're
Yeah.
ready to call the light back to us. And I'm kind of excited for, as we get more in rhythm with the earth and these traditions, and I get myself to plan a little bit ahead and share with my family what my intentions are instead of like planning to just spring it on them like, hey, let's do this. To see how it's going to progress, like waking up early the next morning after solstice and driving up to the pass to actually witness the sun rising
Mm.
or things like that. So those are things I'm looking forward to as I kind of settle in and open up to sharing my intentions and my vision and yeah, plan a little bit.
Yeah, no, I love just, I've never lived where it's like further from the equator. Like, I grew up in Florida and then spent the rest of my life in California. So I've been on this like, yeah, I've experienced pretty much the same length of days. I've never really experienced seasonal shifts. And so it must be really beautiful to really anchor in this time of year and slow things down and have that physical like reminder in your reality that things are changing and shifting, and that animals and earth and her species take on different like patterns and rhythms and cycles and with the seasonal change. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah,
one day I'll have to come and visit you.
definitely. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. And all that said, we didn't really plan ahead that much, but we still both had amazing and beautiful moments unfold that's what the reason why pagans and people long ago, before they had light and electricity, when they were literally in that space of like, the sun is disappearing, where is it going, is it going to come back, and to just like give our children a taste of that timeline, like that to anchor them into the past. And then the intention I know that you probably have as well is that what I'm doing right now for my kids is going to create what their future looks like and how they mark these changes and shifts and cycles.
Yeah, 100%. And having it be, yeah, it's just when we do start tuning into, and I keep looking out my window in case anybody's wondering why I'm just glancing out, but as we keep tuning into the rhythms of Mother Earth, like we just open up to learning more and more and witnessing more and more, whereas before looking out, if it was, say springtime, I would just see green, but now I'm able to notice like particular flowers that bloom, at this time and certain bushes that come to life at different times. And so you start like tuning in and noticing more and more of what's coming alive in nature and then start connecting it more to what's going on inside of us. Like I know I definitely sleep more and feel more called to have, sleeping 10 hours at night versus in the summer, like I might feel perfectly fine sleeping 7 hours per night, and just starting to notice things like that as I am connecting and paying more attention to what's going on in the natural world.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's so true. And then we can just be inspired by nature to like look at the effort that she's putting in or the length of time it takes for nature to unfold. And then it gives us the invitation to be a little more gentle with ourselves when we are in this rushed cultural collective like energy. That's not the energy of nature. Nature is slow and unfolding, and there's times for pausing and rest. And like I know we've talked about recently a lot about like in parenting and motherhood, how important it is to like pause in order to be responsive and not reactive. And I think being able to tune into these cycles and seasons and nature is like the reminder that we need to pause, the reminder that like things can unfold at a slower pace and that actually might be more beneficial to us and our children and their childhood. And yeah, it's like it's learning a whole new language. If we haven't been taught how to connect with nature or how to watch the seasons, then there's a lot of like, there's a lot of steps and a lot of things, which is why we probably find ourselves like, oh, we have plenty of time till solstice until like, it's like, oh my gosh, it's here. And I really wanted to do something, you know?
Mhm. I want to invite all of our listeners who do live in a part of the world where the seasons change to maybe go out and just take a look at your local bushes or your local trees that aren't evergreen.
Yeah.
Just notice, because it was my assumption, that in winter everything really kind of dies or just shuts down and goes into like complete rest mode. But what I started noticing is that the bushes and the trees that will bloom in spring, they actually already have the beginnings of their bud forming
Mm.
at the ends of their branches, which tells me that it's all focused internal work of preparing and nourishing and nurturing, ready to have that full bloom and blossom out in the spring. And so it's all inner work, and it's not just sleeping or resting that's going on. It's really intentional inside work that's going on during the winter time that's also more quiet and peaceful and has that extra restful energy too. And that's a newer insight that I had this winter out on my walks, is noticing that the buds are already formed and aren't ready to bloom, but they're doing the inside work to be able to reach that state of blooming.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it really is so important to make time and space for that inward journey, both yearly with our own cycles, with the moon cycles and phases. Yeah, it definitely just a practice. We always go back to that, right? It's a practice to be able to slow down. It's a practice to be able to cultivate space, to be able to tap into the wisdom and the sensations of our body, like you had spoke to in that earlier grounding. And yeah, I agree. I thought, yeah, everything just kind of dies. The leaves fall off, but I love you bringing that into my awareness as well. And I hope other mamas and listeners can tune into that medicine and be reminded of how important it is that even though it doesn't look like you may be accomplishing a lot on the outside, which sometimes can happen in motherhood because there's a lot to be done, but how much growth is happening and how much that internal navigating and internal journey is leading and lending to us blossoming and blooming and getting to a more like space of vitality and thriving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And with that, I would like to, the chicken just walked by outside of my window. Um, with that, I would like to invite whoever feels called to share their solstice experiences with us in the comments below. Because again, I always love inspiration or seeing other ways that people are honoring that time point in our year and our cycle.
Yeah, and I just want to have have the listeners have compassion for themselves if they didn't either get a chance to do anything for solstice, or what they had planned and what they wanted to unfold didn't turn out the way they had hoped to. And also invite you to, like you said, we're going to carry this out and through the weekend or into the next week, where maybe you didn't catch the actual longest night of the year or the shortest day of the year, but guess what, today's the second shortest day of the year and the second like almost longest night of the year. So you can pick up at any point in your journey and drop in and connect yourself and your children to the seasons and the cycles and the things that are happening. So if you are one of those people that didn't get to weave meeting into this time of year, it's not too late. I mean, you can go and grab a candle. If you don't have the ability to have a full bonfire, you can, go and make yourself hot chocolate or make some, or yeah, just have your little candle right there. I know that people cut limes and bake them in the oven so that they can be hung as like little ornaments to represent the sun returning. There's lots of ideas if you just do a quick search on solstice crafts or giving meaning to solstice. There's so many things that could be easily and without much preparation and planning integrated into the next couple of weeks or the next couple of days and the weeks ahead. And know that spring equinox is coming in about, I don't know, just a handful of months, and I guess 3 months roughly. And we are going to start cultivating and creating and being more resourced ourselves. So if you're interested in figuring out how to not let procrastination or not let the sense of time warping like foil your plans to weave more meaning into your life, if you're wanting to connect in more with nature or with the moon cycles, and have a different routine or create rituals that will help you like integrate these fully into like your day-to-day living, so you're not getting blindsided by a holiday that or a date that comes every single year and will come every single year. Come along and stay along for the journey. We're going to be sharing a little bit more about what we're creating. We've pivoted a little bit, but we're really excited because it feels in tune and aligned with the slowing down of this season and us meeting nature and ourselves where we are. And then also what feels really supportive to ourselves and other mamas who want more reverence and more ritual and more like meaning and sacredness and into their lives and into their children's childhoods.
and connection and community too, like a
Ah,
true interactive community.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes, our until we each cultivate it in our own in the real time, the virtual communities that we are in are really restorative and nurturing and nourishing. So I know many of us get overwhelmed and zoomed out and all of that stuff. And yeah, just again have compassion and grace and acceptance and gratitude that these virtual spaces are able to touch a part of us that are longing for communication and conscious conversations and connection with others who are forging their own way down a path that has never been walked by each of us before. So it's nice to do it in company. And if that company happens to be in the virtual space, then I'm just really grateful to have that at this point in my life.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we are wanting to, yeah, with that, I have a bonfire and some intentions and release statements to do with my family. And I'd love for you, if these conversations resonate with you, subscribe, click the like, share with other mamas, put it in your calendar to join us every Friday. We would love to have you contribute and share like how these conversations resonate with you. So on
Yeah.
that, mm, thank you for joining us. Have a beautiful new first day of winter and enjoy the slowing down that this season invites you into. Breathe.
And
Yeah,
we'll see you next week.
sounds good. Bye.